When we started out preparing for this conference, Willy Rutten and I had some brainstorming. We had many brainstorming sessions, actually. And one of the ideas we came up with was a session that basically would be not really about financial journalism, but that would be very interesting to financial journalists. So that is basically what this session is coming out on. It's called The New Paradigm of Money. And I just want to read you the carefully drafted paragraph that we came up with in outlining this session, basically to set the context. In the old days, money was seen as an intelligent, fast, and efficient way of matching supply and demand. That no longer seems to be the case. Has money become a business on all of its own? Is it too virtual to understand and to regulate? Has money become a business that feeds on itself, or is it just creating financial products that no longer cater to traditional production industries, that leave manufacturing businesses starved for cash? We've seen the rise in parallel of social networks that are no longer money-based, that depend on network effects and on sharing knowledge, rather than on timing and appropriating physical objects. Has the age of scarcity, where money was used to allocate resources, morphed into an age of abundance, where people share what they have? In a world where quarterly growth in dollars and euros remains the basis for valuating stock markets and assessing the economy, can money still be relied on as a performance indicator? Will this crisis signal the end of the Anglo-Saxon model of money and markets? Are we in for a paradigm change in which quarterly growth at any price is no longer a viable model? Now, it's difficult to find speakers to talk about that, but we're very pleased to have here Bernard Lietaer, basically a financial futurist. We like to describe you like that. And Bernard Lietaer has been at the roots of the euro. He worked in the 1980s at the Belgian Central Bank over here as one of the people who were behind the ECU projects, the European Currency Unit. And that was basically what led to the European Monetary Union in the 1990s. I'd like a warm welcome for Bernard Lietaer, who is going to talk to us about monetary blind spots and structural solutions, and also on central banking.
Thank you. Let me start off by saying that I enjoyed the morning so far, or today so far. And I would like to initiate with a question. How many of you think that the worst of the crisis is behind us? Okay? How many of you think that the worst of the crisis is in front of us? Okay, I have a question, gentlemen. How come that the media tells the opposite? Today, the media worldwide talks about the opposite of what you unanimously agreed on. And you're not the only ones. I have asked this question to very different audiences, mostly in Europe, but not exclusively in Europe. The answer that the majority had is people know that the media, or why, instead of talking about the crisis that has passed, why don't we switch to the crisis that is coming, that nobody wants to talk about? That's what I would like you to leave with after my intervention. I would also like to congratulate this community. As far as I know, it is the only one that has asked the question of why we don't see. Politicians haven't done it. Financial circles certainly haven't done it. More surprisingly, and actually critically, in my view, the academics haven't done it. Everybody's been standing up on their own little old platform. The reason, there's a big silence of why it isn't happening. So, at least, I mean, I'm very honored to be here for that very reason, because I believe it's the only circle that actually is doing that question. There are three things I have not heard today. The first one is that nobody has questioned the paradigm of money. You've been talking about it. You've talked about the structural issues in the domain of the financial reporting, you have not talked about the structural issues of the domain on which you're reporting. What I hope to show you is that there is a structural issue in the monetary domain. And that is that structural issue that is actually the cause of this instability, and that therefore the solution for it, the structural solution, requests us, demands from us, that we actually become aware of that paradigm, of the blind spot. So, let me propose that if I say something that is not understood, you stop me immediately. I'm not trying, if there's a clarification issue. Usually money is used as a domain where complexity is used to hide reality, as Galbraith said. I hope to do the reverse, although with you guys, you're obviously in the soup. Okay? But let me establish that premise. Stop me if I use a word that is not understood. Because I'm going to get outside of the monetary domain and outside of the financial domain to explain what's happening in it. All right. The other thing I haven't heard of today is this entire discussion has happened that this is the first crisis. Right? That's the only crisis, right? Well, there have been 97 previous banking crashes over the last 25 years, according to the accounting of the World Bank. And there have been 176 monetary crises over the last 25 years. Why is that not relevant? Why is it that somehow we treat this as if this is a special case? Let me give you a metaphor. I'm giving you a car. It doesn't have brakes and the steering wheel doesn't work well. And I send you to Italy from here. That means I go over the Alps. Right? So you're going to have an accident, right? And when you're going to have an accident, you say, what a bad driver. Mr. Greenspan didn't see it. Right? The bad driver. We need to replace the driver. Oh, and where is you? Oh, look at those maps you're using. They're maps from the 1990s or 1980s. Gee whiz, no wonder the curve was not on that map. So we need to reboot regulations. Sorry, nobody talks about the car. The car is our monetary banking system because it's the same thing. And nobody dares to talk about it. Academically, press, or of course the financial press, the financial circles, or the politicians. That is the paradigm. The paradigm we're living with is a monopoly of bank debt money. That is the thing that nobody questions. Right? It's the only possible way. It has to be a monopoly, and it has to be bank debt money. All right. Where does that lead us? A monopoly of bank debt money. That whenever there's something funny with the banking system, the world stops. What the governments have learned in the 1930s is that you need to save the banking system, otherwise the entire economy goes bankrupt. Right. What we'll learn in this one is that we cannot afford to save the banking system. Now what? Now what? That's the issue. So, my claim is the monetary system is systemically unstable. It is as unstable as a car without a brake and steering wheels that don't work. So all the rest is kind of decorating the issue, walking around it. Okay? We're now going to extract the car from the ravine where you put it in, oh, you bad driver, okay? And we're going to refurbish the wheels, and off you go to your next crash. Right? Now, the reason that I can claim that it's systemically unstable is work that has been done for 25 years in a field that you're not familiar with. It's complexity theory, as applied to natural ecosystems. But let me explain why. First of all, let's deal with the blind spot. Why is it that we cannot see the money paradigm as being part of the discussion? That's what I call the blind spot. Then I'll talk about the systemic cause, which brings us to complexity theory and stability. And once you understand